Okay.
Alright, I gotta go. I'll call you back.
This picture right here is basically, if you notice how this one is completely flattened up here, it's because somebody put down the harness and over torqued it and caused it to be stretched like that. So if you see that, it's most likely by over torquing.
So was that originally how it was on the left? Yeah. And then he flattened it up too much on that.
So that might be an indication of somebody over torquing it. Okay. So degreasing. So when you guys are cleaning these out, you do not want to soak them. And the reason for that is because it can get behind that ceramic insulator in between that and the shield, the side, and you don't want that hanging out in there. And it's important that you air blast these until dry. You don't want to put anything in there that's moist at all. It needs to be completely dry. Everybody have that down? Good? So you're going to thoroughly clean the threads. Basically, you're inspecting this thing as you're cleaning it to make sure there's no nicks or gouges in it, cracks, and so forth. So you can use a wire wheel or a wire hand brush on the threads. It's right here to clean them up. Do not use the wire wheel on the firing end. It actually does a pretty nice job with the wire wheel, but you just have to be careful. Everybody got that? Okay. So here's a picture of somebody using it on the wire wheel. So they're just cleaning up these threads. Like I said, it does a really good job, pretty easy. You can also use the wire hand brush that people usually have in their toolboxes. just like this. That one's got a lot of junk and it doesn't. Look at
Just throw that one away.
that.
A lot of them was.
Can you go back to the last one?
Probably for demonstration purposes.
Who's got it?
I think you have it.
So here's using a hand brush. I think it's cool and it has all that stuff in there because then I get to use the little cleaner and it vibrates all this. The vibrating cleaner knocks all that stuff out.
The dirtier the better.
It's cheap thrills for me.
So
So-
it says do not fire the firing in. You mean the electrode? Do not not wire brush
Yes.
the
So
electrode.
this side, if you don't
Okay.
want to fire it in. There's a picture for it. So yeah, don't do
I've
that.
actually done that.
And you broken it
Yeah, a different plug, but yeah.
Yeah.
Not an aviation plug, but
on a plug before.
an automotive plug, yeah, they ruined it.
But that was just to see what happened, right?
No.
Signal element. So don't do this, but you guys,
Be honest, no.
but you guys can use it on the threads, like I said, just not on the firing end because you will damage it, or a very, very strong chance of damaging it. Okay. So just like you guys saw that one spark plug that he was using the wire wheel on, it's got all that junk in there. There is also you need to clean that out before you put it actually in the spark plug cleaner. You can use a dental pick, or we have a vibrating cleaner, which I have one right here on the table. Usually there's hand ones. This one happens to be that sits on the table. I like the hand one better because then I can maneuver both the spark plug and the cleaner in my hand. I don't know. We had one, but we can't seem to find it for some reason. Everybody have that down? I'm going to show you a picture right here. So here's the hand one. Has different adapters for when the tooths run out. These are only used on the two massive electroid spark plugs. So don't use this on a fine wire one. You will damage it and break it. And I'll show you how it fits inside. But basically, you're going to let the tool do its job. So if it's vibrating, it's going to be shaking all on its own. Really, all you're doing is holding it. So you're not forcing it or anything like that. But here's the handheld one. It works just like that. So goes inside each one, vibrates, breaks all that stuff loose. You knock it all out. You try to get out as much as possible because we don't want to put it in that machine. But toothpicks, if you have dental picks, which most mechanics do have dental picks in their box, you can also use that to break them out off. But you need to be careful. So here's the Champion one, which happens to be out here. I'll show you guys how to use this out there. It's really self-explanatory. You just stick it in there, it vibrates. You see it cleans both sides at the same time. That other one only cleaned one side at a time, but this one will clean both. Anybody want a picture that? Get it? Okay. So, like I said, dental picks will work. They're just a little bit slower. guys could also bead blast these versus using the cleaner, but I recommend not doing that unless you're really good at it, because you just want to make sure, because if you go too hard you might break something inside, so you want to make sure you don't have as much pressure, but you can use a bead blaster to clean these. But for our class purposes, I'm going to teach you guys on the cleaner. Does everybody have that down?
One second.
So basically this is just getting all the debris out in the inside. Just knocking it all loose. Everybody have that? Okay. So when we're blasting these, we're not going to blast the fine wire ones at all. So the cleaner out there, you're not going to use fine wire on it because you can damage it and break it because it's very sensitive material. So usually what you'll do is clean those in solvent and wipe them clean. They don't need too much cleaning. So when you guys are using the cleaner out there for your project, try to get one that's got the massive electrodes in them. Does everybody have that written down? We're not going to blast the barrel end, but you can. Usually we just clean it out with some MEK. I've actually never blasted that end. I usually wipe it out with some kind of solvent, make sure I air dry it. You can damage it, so usually we just clean the firing end on the cleaner. Everybody got that?
Yes.
Okay. So the barrel end only needs to be lightly cleaned, like I said. You can clean it with the cotton swab with MEK, alcohol, solvent. I know MEK is not readily available as it used to be. Yeah, but it gets the job done, so that's why they use it. Everybody got that written down? Good to go? Okay. So, right here he's showing you an example of cleaning out the barrel end with MEK and a cotton swab. It's usually all it needs on that end. Okay. So the connector seal seat may also be cleaned with a fine grit aluminum oxide or silicone carbon paper. It's basically not as abrasive as sandpaper. There's a picture of cleaning it. And after cleaning these, you always want to air dry, blow them out with air, make sure there's no defects and that they're completely dry. And if you notice the big red letters at the bottom, in no case use emery paper. Because, what?
It's abrasive.
Yes,
You tell me aluminum oxide is not abrasive?
not as much as emery paper. Everything's kind of, I mean, it's going to be somewhat abrasive to get it cleared off. Everybody got that? No? Okay. After the next slide, we're going to break for lunch and we'll come back and finish lecture. We'll have the two demos when we come back from lunch as well.
You're asking, we're just talking about shop pressure.
Yeah, blowing air into it, make sure it's completely dry inside. So we want to make sure if there's any sharp edges along here that we knock them down, because if this is an all-weather seal one, you could tear the seal, the silicone, and obviously that will mess with the sealing capabilities of that environmental seal. So that's why you do it. Basically, you're going to check to see if there's any rough edges before you do it. I don't always use this paper, but if there's rough edges, that's what you use. Okay. All right, so I'm going to have you guys break for lunch. We'll be back here at 6:30, and we'll do the cleaning demo.